thank you for being here today. My name is Erin Wolf. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Bucknell, and I have my colleague Randy Thien from Human Resources. He is our Talent Acquisition Coordinator, but also heads up our student employment area here at Bucknell, which is certainly an interest of many of our students here on campus. So I thank Randy for being here with me today. Right now, I know there's a lot of anxious students and parents who are starting the process to onboard to Bucknell. So this is some just key information about where you should be right now, what things we might be asking of you as the student or parent if you're here on behalf of your student, some emails your students may be receiving as they're looking to arrive at Bucknell in just a few short weeks. If there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll address those before this day ends. And also, if there's anything you should need after today, you may certainly always call the financial aid office. We're here Monday through Friday from 8 to 4 during the summer and are happy to answer any calls. And I know Randy is also available to assist with any student employment questions. So we're going to move into understanding where your students should be right now and what information we may be requesting of you as a student or parents for your students that we're reaching out to. First, I want to introduce what's called our financial aid self-service portal. For students who have been looking at Bucknell and going through the process through admissions, we've been pushing out financial aid and notifications originally through our admissions software. But as students enroll and pay their deposit, they're receiving their Bucknell email information and creating that access to the internal workings of Bucknell. As students are coming into Bucknell, as you come in as an incoming student and continue on through matriculation to graduation, we will be putting all financial aid information in our self-service portal. It is called My Bucknell, and we have a financial aid gadget within the registrar system that students can click on and navigate year to year through our financial aid. They can see any important notifications from our office. They can view missing information that is needed to complete their file and see, anything they really want to regarding financial aid. So this is an area of the platform I really want your students, you as a student and parent, to be comfortable with. Parents, you can't access this. This is student only through their email address and Bucknell login information, but certainly if you're needing them to respond to something, this will be the first place that they will check on. This portal is going to be used by a lot of different educational institutions. On here, we have an area where we're going to show you how to accept or decline some of your financial aid. You can manage your student loans on here. You can check dates of financial aid disbursements, and you can check something called the satisfactory academic progress. And that is one of the top portions of this area of the self-service portal. Students need to be completing at least 67% of their credits every semester and also achieving at least a 1.8 after first semester to continue to maintain eligibility for federal student aid. That policy is available on our website, and we're happy to share that information, but there will be more information regarding any additional policies that we will share at the start of the academic year. On this page, we have what's called the offer tab for financial aid. So I think I want to call your attention to the award notification at the top. Students are receiving financial aid award notifications. Those were sent home in your initial admit packet, but also made available in our Slate portal. However, if you would need a copy of that award notification for perhaps an outside scholarship or something else that you would need, you can click on that box and you'll be able to download the latest transaction that shows all of the financial aid that could have changed since your first award letter. There are about 30 incoming students we're still communicating with. We are missing some information. So if you are one of those students or perhaps a parent received a communication, there are some additional documents we're looking for just to finalize federal financial aid before those federal loans dispersed, or again, that federal Pell Grant gets kind of locked in for the academic year. So if you are still receiving notifications about missing documents or tax returns or something, please don't hesitate to contact us if you're confused about why we are asking that. But again, we're trying to just make sure all of the financial aid is wrapped up. So when we go to disperse aid at the start of the term, your student's financial aid will immediately hit their B bill here at Bucknell, which you'll hear our Bursar Services colleagues talk about at a later session. One thing I want you to make sure you're aware of, all grants and scholarships, those are funds that you do not need to repay. So you do not need to accept or decline those. Those are out there for all students. Those will, for scholarships, roll forward year to year as long as you're maintaining academic progress. For students who have Bucknell need-based grant, we will communicate for incoming students for fall of 25. You will receive notifications from us in November of 2025 to start the process again for the 26-27 academic year. So again, if we're requiring FAFSAs in the future or any other information to determine financial aid, there will be a process for which we will be communicating at a later time. I do want to call out that if you as a student or parent or here on behalf of a student, if there's federal work study in the financial aid award, it is not funding that is credited to your student's B bill. That is money your student can earn while working on our campus, and Randy will explain a little bit about that in just a few slides. Federal student loans, we do package federal loans from the subsidized and unsubsidized loan program. Those loans are currently listed in the self-service portal, and there will be a process to accept or decline those, and I will show you that in just a moment. And last, if any student has received an outside scholarship at graduation or maybe from some other local organization or a parent's employer, we are asking that you please notify us, whether it's paid to you or paid directly to Bucknell. We need to know that information. It's required that we list that as a resource of financial aid that is going to be used to help you pay your balance due to the university. We have been pushing out emails regarding setting up your security word, and this is an extra level of security that we are required to put in place by the Department of Education, first and foremost, to protect all information. Certainly, the FAFSA application is a very important application that we use to evaluate financial aid, and there's a lot of controls in place, but we have an extra level of security so that we know if the student, parent, step parent, or somebody from the family is calling regarding the financial aid, that we are not sharing information with anyone outside that family unit or for those who have created that password and shared it. So students have been asked to go into that self-service portal, create a security word, and then share it with those whom should be able to call into our office. Again, we receive a lot of tax information in here. The IRS has, automatically pulled data onto the FAFSA. So we don't want to be sharing information that is, to the wrong person. So again, we will, as you call into the office, we're going to ask for the security word. You may become a little frustrated with my team, but that is an obligation that we have to uphold, again, to protect the confidentiality of financial aid. I talked just a moment ago about outside scholarships, and many students may have received those at graduation, or if there's any last minute upcoming graduations this month, please communicate that information to our office. We allow students to stack their scholarships on top of their financial aid up to the cost of attendance. And you'll see here that for the 25-26 academic year, it is $91,836 of total gift aid. So that can be all free dollars that you can bring to Bucknell. If you're borrowing a portion or some of a federal student loan, we do bump that slightly to allow for the federal loan fees that the government does impose on federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Here are a few scholarship resources that you may still check into. There, potentially is a process to do some additional applications or essays to be eligible for additional scholarships, but I really encourage anything that you can do as a student or as a parent working with your student to minimize potentially the borrowing that may be required after financial aid to fund your education. The subsidized and unsubsidized loans can be sometimes a cause for confusion, and we do receive a lot of questions in the Office of Financial Aid about how those are determined. And it is based on the cost of attendance minus your student aid index from the FAFSA. It's not something that you can determine. It is something that's all done through the process of reviewing your financial aid application in conjunction with maybe any other scholarships or need-based dollars you receive from Bucknell. We then assess the eligibility for the loan programs. Subsidized loans are not going to be charged interest while enrolled in college. The interest rates were just set in the middle of May and will be 6.39% for the upcoming academic year, which is slightly lower than the interest rate students were billed and charged during the 24-25 academic year. Conversely, the unsubsidized loan will accrue interest while your student is enrolled or while you were here as a student. That is just virtue of how the program is set up. We don't have any control over that. Again, it is based on every student has potentially a portion of a subsidized loan they could receive, or maybe it is only an unsubsidized loan. If you have any questions about the particular breakdown of that, you may always call the Office of Financial Aid, and a counselor will be happy to work with you to address those questions. Again, the interest rate is similar to the subsidized loan and will be 6.39%. Now, when a student borrows the loan, which I'm going to talk about in just one moment, these loans, though you're taking them for a full academic year, are only dispersed half in the fall. So that will be when classes start. We do not disperse loan funds until your students are sitting in a class here at Bucknell. And then later in the spring semester in January, when the spring term begins, we will disperse the other part. And at that time, for the unsubsidized loan is when that interest will begin to accrue. Now, these are where we're getting a lot of questions. So if any of you are on here and questioning this accepting or declining of your student loans, we are pushing out emails. We have a couple hundred students we're still waiting to hear from across our all 4 years of students here at Bucknell. In the portal, if you're looking to accept or decline your loan, you just want to go to the award summary tab and click on accept if you're choosing to borrow the loan, or decline if you're choosing not to use that resource to help you pay your balance at the university. If you're unsure and you want to have some questions answered before you go through that process, please don't hesitate to call us. If you decide to accept the loan now but need to decline later, we just want to work together on communicating that back and forth with the Office of Financial Aid, because there is some rules on once we actually disperse that loan, how long of a timeline we have to cancel and send that money back to the Department of Ed. So again, we're happy to help in the Office of Financial Aid if there's any questions pertaining to the federal loan program. After you accept your student loan, if you're going down the path of accepting, you will receive an email reminding students to go out to studentaid.gov. This is for one time coming in to borrow for all 4 years. We use a multi-year master promissory note here at Bucknell, but we do require our students to actively accept or decline their loans, because we will not process any loans without consent from the student or parent through a parent loan, if that is something you're seeking to enroll in. Students will complete entrance counseling. This process could take as much as 20 to 30 minutes. It is going to put students through questions related to borrowing, understanding the cost of attendance at their school, and just understanding loans in general if they have never borrowed before. And last, the master promissory note. This is a document that is an agreement to repay the student loan after graduation. The master promissory note will have student information and will ask for 2 references, for which if the student cannot be found or contacted after graduation, they will contact the references listed on that master promissory note. And again, if you're taking these student loans, there's no obligation to pay. That subsidized loan is not accruing any interest. However, the unsubsidized loan will, and you can make interest payments to a student loan servicer. That information related to your servicer will not be known to you until about 2 to 3 weeks after the term starts. There are a few different contractors that the government works with. So we can help, if you did not receive notification from the servicer, we can help identify who that is to begin that process if you're seeking early information. Just a few other financing options to be aware of. I believe Bursar Services is going to be holding a webinar related to the B bill, as we call it, and the process here for billing. The first bill for Bucknell will not be available until after July 10th. So we're still a few weeks out from that information coming to you. But if you're wanting to start the process of applying for loans, you can do that now. There's no obligation to wait, but some families do wait till they have the bill in hand so they can see what potentially is due for the fall and then plan on what the spring balance would look like. For families looking at the Parent Plus loan, this is for a loan in the parent or step-parent's name only. This loan can be applied for anytime now, and there is usually a 6-month allotment of time that window for your credit is approved. If you're borrowing this loan, the interest rate is 8.94% for the new academic year, and the government does withhold 4.228% in a fee. That fee does not come to Bucknell. That is going to the Department of Education to help offset the cost of servicing your student loan. Now, for the Parent Plus loan, you can borrow all the way up to that $91,894 I shared on the earlier slide, minus all of your other financial aid, and that is the loan amount that you can take through a Parent Plus loan. We are not, certainly you're not obligated to go that route. You can piece through different things for your family situation. If you have a 529 that you know you can pull a certain dollar amount from this year and you're able to piece in a smaller loan. Again, it is working the different resources that you have available to you. It's not necessarily one size fit all. So please know that we're not expecting if you have funds available to help pay or looking at a payment plan that you need to borrow that full loan amount. So just be aware of that. With the parent loan, it works like the students. It will disperse half in August when classes begin, and the other half when the spring term begins. So nothing beyond the start of the school year starting. We have the monthly payment plan. It did start as early as June 1 because that is the way our Nelnet servicer is the contract they have with the institution. If you have specific questions about the payment plan, Bursar Services, they will be a great resource to you and can help talk through how that works. And if there's anything that you need to do with Nelnet to potentially adjust something if you want to start that, and it's after obviously June 1 right now. And last but not least, we have private education or alternative loan lenders. You would have received back in May a letter from us that addressed these various topics, and we do have a site on the Bucknell loan page. It is called Elm Select. We complete a process through an RFI each year to address the different lender programs, what their rates and criteria are for repayment. So we're trying to bring the best options to the table for families that are certainly new to higher education and borrowing, but also lenders that we feel, again, are out there. They're good partners. They haven't, we haven't had any negative feedback from some of our student borrowers. So we go through a process to just navigate that process. For some of you, depending what state you live in, there are different loans available by state. So if you live in New Jersey, you can borrow through the New Jersey Higher Education. Pennsylvania, we have the PA Forward loan. That you do not need to be a Pennsylvania resident, though, to borrow that loan. You just have to be enrolled in a Pennsylvania school. And there's some other loans out there that are particular to other states that you don't even have to be a resident or attending those institutions. So again, we put some things out on that site, but you can absolutely do some investigating on your own. And if you have any questions pertaining to loans, again, we are happy to support you with any information that we can provide. So now I'm going to turn it over to Randy to talk a little bit more about student employment.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you, Erin, for having me today to share a little bit about my role in student employment. So student employment is a really great way for students to kind of find a sense of belonging and get involved on campus, as well as make a bit of money while they're at it as well. So some of our goals here in student employment is all about trying to connect the students' academic experiences with things that they're doing outside the classroom. Student employment gives the opportunity for those to gain valuable skills while they're here at Bucknell, with the hopes that they'll use some of those skills post-graduation. And it's also just a great way for students to form relationships with faculty and staff all across campus. And one great thing about being at Bucknell is the community that's present. And so it's a really great way for students to create those connections. So there's a lot of great things with working here on campus. First of all, it allows for flexible scheduling around students' various class schedules. As of this past academic year, we had over 1,200 students who held jobs on campus. So about 1 out of every 3 students here has a job, and more of the case, they have multiple jobs. When it comes to working on campus, there are a lot of different ways to find work and a lot of different departments to work in, whether it's doing research with faculty members, whether it's working in the athletic center, being a tutor, working in the library, community service. There's so many different departments on campus where students have the opportunity to find some work and get involved. And what's nice about student employment is that regardless of your student's federal work study status, any student can work.
Yeah, and that's a great point. As you're looking at your financial aid notification, some students have not received federal work study. And again, that's all based off of that FAFSA application and looking at the combination of the other aid that a student received. But that doesn't preclude a student from working on campus. So Randy's team is great at helping align students into other open positions that can serve an opportunity to earn some money and also gain some other great experiences here.
All right, so when it comes to finding student jobs, if you go on your My Bucknell dashboard, there should be a link to what's called Bison at Work. You can also search it in the search bar as well. But Bison at Work is our homepage where all of the available student positions are posted. During the academic year, there's well over 100 jobs posted year-round, so a lot of different opportunities and departments that are looking for student employees to help in the work that they do. And so when you go into that Bison at Work page, you're able to click on different jobs, read their descriptions, see if their job description aligns with any of your interests or any of your studies. And ultimately, you're more than welcome to, apply and put an application in to see what jobs might fit you, what you find interest in. Yeah, so it's just a nice way to explore the different various work opportunities on campus. And so there's a couple employment reminders that are important for our end. First of all, being here at Bucknell, there's huge pride on academics being a #1 priority. And so during the academic year, students are able to work a maximum of 20 hours per week. And that covers whether they have only one job on campus or multiple positions. When it comes to the work study awards that students are earning, they must get a job on campus in order to redeem those funds. So they would have to go on that Bison at Work site, look for a job, get employed in order to work their federal work study funds. And then also for any students that are interested in working campus, think they might get a job, it's always handy for them to have their original documentation brought to campus. Those forms of ID that we typically look for are either an original passport or a driver's license combined with a social security card or birth certificate. All of those documents must be originals. They must be unexpired in order for them to validate their employment authorization. And this is typically a one-time requirement. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back to Erin to talk about some other financial aid items.
Great. Randy, just a real quick question regarding student employment. As far as, starting the process at Bison at Work, is it too soon or too late? Is there a timing where most positions are posted online that, maybe it's not a great time right now and most employers post those starting in August? What does that timeline look like?
So even that's a great question, Aaron. So even this summer, even today, there's definitely a bunch of different job postings out there on that Vice Network site. So you're more than welcome to even start looking this summer about what jobs are on there. Definitely a lot of recruiting for fall 2025. Definitely a lot of academic positions, but also, a little bit in athletics and different centers that we have around campus. A lot of opportunities to explore.
That's great. And one more question, just as a parent. If I'm bringing my child to campus and they're moving in August, certainly having those important documents with them can be, challenging to leave them here. But what are the opportunities for students to turn those over to you all to complete their documentation? What does that look like? And is there open hours for availability to do so?
Yeah, so our student employment office is typically open Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 during the summer, and 8:30 to 4:30 during the academic year. We definitely acknowledge the concern that parents have about leaving their documents with their student while they're here on campus. Also, concern reasonable concern around having them mail those documents in if their student doesn't have them already on campus. Um, Unfortunately, it is a federal law requirement that we do have those original documents. So whether they are left with their student, whether they are mailed securely, um, unfortunately, it's part of the process. But we trust that you and your families will be able to, mail those securely. Trust your students to have those with them on campus as well.
Great. Thanks for that clarification, Randy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And last, just moving into other financial aid items, I just want to call to some other opportunities for financial aid while you're a student, while you as a student are here or a parent, in case your student comes to you with some other interesting things they're looking to do. We do partner with the Office of Global Education on study abroad opportunities. Bucknell has both shorter lead programs that can be as short as 3 weeks or 8 weeks on up to full semester programs that do go to various parts of the world. We do, for students who are on financial aid, evaluate your financial aid eligibility to provide some additional grant funding to support those programs and those adventures for you. We want students to leave Bucknell and experience other great cultures and certainly have opportunities to even add an internship opportunity with that time away from campus. So again, there is funding available to support students through that process. It's not something that you would see within the financial aid self-service portal. As students are exploring other opportunities, we are notified through a process with the Global Ed office, and then we work together to communicate eligibility back to the student. So just be aware of how that works. There will be other opportunities for, we have a couple different study abroad fairs through the academic year. There will be one in the fall for sure. And at Parents Weekend, we typically have information available regarding the financial aid for study abroad as well. And last but not least, summer financial aid. There is the potential that students would want to, stay at Bucknell for the summer to take some classes. We do have some that are held, online, but majority of them are in person. There is, again, some limited financial aid to assist with that option. So again, not something you need to worry about at this moment, but certainly as you're coming in, just know that there's, if there's any questions related to, how do we provide support for these other program opportunities and options, we're here to support. And I have here just our email, so you can be in touch with us if you have any questions today. Randy, I don't know if there's any in the chat, but if there's anything that we can go over, we're happy to support you. Again, this is just meant to be kind of where you are, what's going on, what's on the forefront. There will be other opportunities from other campus partners to have some other Zoom sessions shared out so that you feel that you have a little bit more information before getting here to Bucknell.